Hey, good afternoon, everyone, or morning or evening, wherever you are. I'm Richard Byrne, and you're here for a framework for using educational technology. We have 112 people signed up today, so I can see a lot of people signing in faster and faster all the time. I see some familiar names in there and some new names as well. If you've never been in a webinar with me before, there's a few things I'd like to cover before we jump into the meat of today's webinar. Number one, everything you see on my screen is being recorded. So if you have to step away and you want to watch what I did when you come back, don't worry, you'll get a recording of it. I'll be emailing that out to everyone who registered for the webinar. There is a Q&A panel or a Q&A function in GoToWebinar. Please feel free to use that at any time, even if you just want me to slow down and go back and repeat something, feel free to put that right there in the Q&A. Hello, Linda from New Jersey just said hi. Just use that little chat panel. Anyone else who wants to say hello, please say hello. All right. So those are the logistics that I needed to cover. Let's get into today's webinar. So a few goals for the webinar. This webinar is going to be about half an hour. Oh, hello from Seattle, Diana. It's noontime there. A few goals that I have today in the next half an hour. I want to kind of explain why people have trouble explaining educational technology or selecting educational technology. Talk about a framework for choosing technology for your classroom, and then provide some examples of how I use that framework and how you can use that framework. And before I do that, I just went way too far, apologies. If for some reason you ended up here in this webinar because somebody signed you up and you have no idea who I am, and sometimes that happens. A little bit about me. Number one, my most important job, I'm a dad to two little girls. I have a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old, and they are loving life because dad is home all the time right now. I teach high school computer science currently. I've done professional development for schools all over the country for the last, well, now 12 years. Probably know me from freetechforteachers.com or Practical EdTech. And I'm a big fan of drinking dark roast coffee, although it's afternoon here, so I'm resigned to my seltzer for right now. So just to make sure people know where that chat panel is, let me know. Are you a dark roast person, a light roast coffee person, a tea drinker, or a Diet Coke person, or something else altogether? I just want to see who's here and what do we all like. Hello from Argentina, Rita says. Espresso, Maria says. Dark roast. I've never tasted coffee before. Wow. Okay. I didn't try it till I was 22. I got out of college before I drank coffee. No one else. What do we have? Any seltzer drinkers? Just dark roast from Maryland. Tea. Love dark roast. Dark roast in Denver from Christina. Right? Fun fact: dark roast has less caffeine than light roast. I just learned that a couple weeks ago while listening to a podcast. All right. Oh, espresso from Louisiana. Hi, Virginia. All right, great. And tea in Rhode Island, says Renee. All right, great. So people know where that Q&A function is. And a Diet Coke. Lisa says Diet Coke. Lisa, you're like my friend Shane, who will not drink coffee. In fact, can't even make coffee, but he drinks diet soda every morning. Yeah. So here we go. A couple of things I want to think about as we jump into the webinar today. You know, a lot of us, I think most of us, are finding ourselves in a remote teaching environment now. And because of that, we've lost some opportunities because of our current lockdown state or, social distancing. A lot of us have put stuff on the back burner that we hoped we were going to do. You know, I was hoping to go to ISTE in June. That's not happening, right? And I like to think of this as a great opportunity to do a lot of those things. We said, oh, we're going to do that when X, Y, or Z happens, right? Well, now we got a lot of time to do it. And this is a great time, right, to do some online learning, to get in shape, do the running you've said you're going to be doing, all that stuff. I'm trying to look at this as a great opportunity all the way around. And kind of piggybacking on that, as we jump into the webinar, there's 3 things I think we can all agree on. The technology definitely gives our kids some great opportunities we didn't have when we were in school. You're a Gen Xer like me, right? You can remember when your school didn't have computers, or you might have had 1 computer in your school, right? Or maybe 2, right? We all want what's best for kids. Right? Some of you may remember when there were no computers in school, right? And we all need to take care of ourselves in order to be good teachers. I think those are 3 things we can all kind of agree on as we start today. Okay. And we've got a few others. Oh, unsweetened iced tea, Linda just popped in there. All right, great. So here's our problem. Problem that I think a lot of us have, or a lot of us are trying to help other people with. If you're a tech integrator or a curriculum specialist, curriculum coordinator, just on a call with some curriculum folks earlier today. This is a problem that a lot of teachers face. A lot of people run into. There's just too many choices. They don't have enough time to sort through them all, and a lot of that is because they don't know how to use it at all, or they don't have a framework. And creating a framework for using technology really does give a lot of clarity around those 3 big problems of too many choices, not enough time, and lack of a framework. Right? Creating that framework gives you that clarity for, okay, how does this work and what could I possibly do with it? Gives us some direction, and in the long run, it saves us time. We have this framework and this lens that we're looking at technology through. In the long run, it saves us some time when new things come out, or when that favorite web tool shuts down and you're looking for something new. Right? Having that framework gives you a better direction and better sense of clarity on making those choices. So where this idea came from for me, and this framework that I'm going to introduce to you came to me from this question from my friend Katie. My friend Katie is a great English teacher, and early in my career, she helped me immensely. But she came to me one day about, 12 years ago, 13 years ago now, said to me, Richard, can you help me make one of those blog wiki website thingies? Has anyone ever had that? Right? You ever gotten that kind of a question from someone in your school? Can you help me make one of those thingies, one of those wikis, one of those blogs, one of those, can you help me make a video, right? Kind of that nondescript tech help request. Anyone get that? Who else gets that kind of question? Maybe you've gotten it recently. Yeah, see, exactly, right? Many times, twice a day. Good. All right, we got a few responses in there, right? Yeah, we've all got that. And that's when it came to me that we really needed to have, every day, yeah. We got twice a day and every day and many times, right? This is when it came to me that we need a framework. And without a framework, Amy, you just made a response. By writing, how do I make a response? You wrote a response. Very good. Random requests at midnight, Linda says. Yes, we get those too, right? But all of these things indicate that to us, or to me, that people don't have a good sense of how to use technology. They know they need to, but they're not quite sure what to do and how to fit some of these resources into their instruction. So about 10, 12 years ago now, kind of came up with this framework of discovery, discussion, and demonstration. And it's really that simple. You take any technology tool that you're considering using or that's presented to you and think about it. Will it help my students discover something new? Will it help them engage in a discussion in a new way? Or will it help them show what they know, show how they show their knowledge of a process, or do something that they previously couldn't do without the use of technology? So again, it's really this simple. Now, it's simple but it takes some practice, right? The framework itself is simple, but it does take some practice of thinking about, right, let's use our technology to find these new things. Let's engage in these discussions. One of the things I love about technology from a discussion standpoint is that it can be used to engage kids who are all over the spectrum in terms of class participation. We all have that student, or have had that student, who is very smart, but is incredibly shy and won't say anything in class unless called upon, and that's going to be the bare minimum just to say enough that you leave them alone. Then we have on the other end of the spectrum the student who has to say something about everything. Can you think of that? Can you think of those two kids, those two students in your life? On the one hand, very smart but very painfully shy. On the other hand, so exuberant that they have to say something about everything. And using technology for an online discussion or even as a supplement to a classroom discussion really gives us that opportunity for that shy student to talk and for that exuberant student to talk as well without dominating the classroom at the same time. And then we'll look at some tools for demonstration today. Now, if you think about this framework and think about how people use technology in their everyday lives outside of school, just, particularly teenagers, but adults as well, just think about how they use technology today. Their phone, right? If you're, if you're a teenager or a preteen, you're probably on TikTok, right? And TikTok, when you think about it, or YouTube if you're a little bit older, we all spend a lot of time on YouTube these days. In fact, I had a meeting with someone from Google on Monday afternoon, talking about a product that Google is releasing. Actually, I can tell you what it is. It's Rivet. Anyway, we're talking about, and she mentioned that they estimate that in the next couple of years, 80% of all online content is going to be video. Right? But both of these tools, when you think about them, what do? Well, they're used for discovery. Now, the quality of those discoveries is suspect sometimes, but we're using it for discovery. People are engaging in discussions on TikTok and on YouTube, and people are definitely using those tools to demonstrate their knowledge on things. One of the most popular categories in YouTube is how-to videos. So people are using these technologies in their everyday lives for those three purposes. So when you think about that, the transition into the classroom is a little easier. So some obvious discovery tools are Google and Bing, are virtual reality. That's a great way for kids to discover things. Augmented reality, great way for kids to discover things. I love virtual reality. Particularly, I like Google Expeditions, because Google Expeditions engages kids in that experience of going from that flat, two-dimensional image in a textbook or that flat, two-dimensional atlas to, now I can immerse myself and really look around. Now I know really what Mount Everest Base Camp looks like, right? Know what it looks like to go inside John Adams' house, do those sorts of things. And augmented reality provides cool ways to discover things as well, but it doesn't have to be those fancy technologies, right? So I want to share just a couple of little discovery things that you can do that are often overlooked, really often overlooked, and just showing teachers these couple of things can get them on the path to bigger discoveries and really feeling like, okay, now I know I can do something new. I'll start with a simple Google thing that a lot of students overlook. I'm going to do a really basic search. War of 1812. Get 62 million results. Ton of results. What am I going to do with all those? Well, let's go into our settings. Let me go into my settings for this. I'll blow it up a little bit here. There we go. Let's go into our advanced search. And just having students go in and look for things that are in PDF format. They come up with a whole new set of results. Now, why do I do that? Well, because when you refine by file type, some really good stuff that doesn't necessarily rank very highly in your typical Google search starts to show up. Like this resource here, these resources here, they will not show up very highly in a Google search unless you refine by file type. Doesn't mean they're not good. We all know that. We all know that just because something's ranked highly in Google doesn't mean it's a good resource. And so there are some great things that kids never get to. Fun little fact from Moz, M-O-Z, it's a search analytics firm. They discovered a couple of years ago that 30 seconds is the amount of time people spend on a search before they give up and change their search terms. That's how long they spend looking through the results before they give up and change their search terms and try again. Just having kids go and do that file type search can make a huge difference. Or doing something like this where we say, okay, I want to find things that are just from K-12 schools in the state of Maine. Now, if you're in the United States, you can do this for any state. Go to site-of-domain.k12.yourstateabbreviation.us. Now I have just 56 results from schools here in the state of Maine. Why is that helpful? Well, it helps kids discover things that are geared towards students. Again, you can do that for any state in the union, .k12.tx.us, 41 results. Or I could do something like this and do .ca. So give me results just from websites registered in Canada. That's one little thing you can do to change the way that people discover things on the web. I'll give you another example. So this morning, I was looking at the Library of Congress and I actually wrote about this. So there it is. They have this new collection called the Maps of Cities. And these are all free to reuse and reuse. And one of the things you might do is something like this. Let's say I find a map. Oh, I don't know. Let's find this one here. And I've chosen this one because it's pretty clear and easy to see. Some of them are a little bit more grainy, a little more muddled. This one's really easy to see. Then download this. Again, these are all free to use and reuse. $18.92. So I'm going to save that to my desktop just for now. All right. So we're looking at this. Now, this little map, what I could do with this is I could layer this on top of current imagery in Google Earth. And now students are making these discoveries about, okay, how has the geography, the topography of Washington, D.C. changed over time? How many people are Google Earth users? People have used Google Earth. If you've never tried to overlay an image, by the way, I have a video. I'll share that video. It shows you how to do that, and it's actually really easy to do. And you can overlay the two images, so it gives kids this opportunity to compare things. That's a neat way to discover. Another neat thing you can do in Google Earth is look at historical imagery. And you can see the changes in coastlines over time, or see how a city layout has changed over time. Just a couple of interesting ways for kids to discover new things using some technology that's not really that hard to use, to figure out. Okay. So there's a few items there to think about. Let's think about this next piece, the discussion piece. These could be your back channel chats. These could be the polls and games, your Kahoots, or quizzes or Quizalize, or pick your favorite quiz game tool, Triventi. There's tons of them out there, or even just playing Jeopardy online with kids, or your Flipgrids and tools like that where kids can post audio and video responses. These are great discussion tools. I'm going to share one with you that I think deserves a little bit of attention. I'm going to ask you to participate with me. I use a tool called EdTech. So, how many people were Today's Meet users? How many former Today's Meet users do I have? If you used Today's Meet in the past, give me a little thumbs up or a yes. If you used Today's Meet in the past. Yeah, okay, we got a few. I loved Today's Meet. It was great. A couple more. Yeah, Diana says, I miss it, right? It was fantastic. For those who never used Today's Meet, never had the chance, it was a simple little tool you could use for making an online chat forum for your students. The person who ran it for 10 years decided he'd had enough of doing it and shut it down about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago now. And some people at Hong Kong Polytechnic decided, hey, we're gonna pick up the ball and run with it. And they came up with this service called EdTech, EdTechApp.com. And here's how it works. I'm gonna go in and call this one Mr. Byrne Thursday. It's Thursday afternoon. Now, there are some password controls and admin features you can use. For our quick demo here, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to create that room. Now I have a link to it. I'll give you the link. I'll put that link right there in the chat. Just give me 1 second. Now, everyone who has that link can open it. You can go here and say, hi, and send it off. And we can reply to each other. But there's even more. You might notice here in our chat tools, well, Diana says hi. See, look at that. TechTeach says hi, thanks for sharing. Now check this out. I'm going to click on this little airplane icon. Oh, sorry, not the airplane icon, the pencil icon. And now I've got a whiteboard. Now I click the airplane icon, and my whiteboard's in there. So it's a real easy way to go beyond just a text conversation to saying, hey, let's chat about something. And you can see there, I can even go in and add pictures if I want. Like, here, I'll add this picture of an airplane. There it is. And then I'll draw on top of the airplane. And I'll send it off and put that in the discussion. Right? Great little tool for facilitating that online conversation with kids, having that discussion. You think about some of the ways you might use this. You could set this up and say to students, I'm going to be available to answer questions live for you from 2 o'clock to 2:30 or whatever. Or in a live classroom setting, set this up to run in the background, and students can use it to ask questions while you're watching videos. I used to use Today's Meet all the time when I would show a video in my history class. Because whenever I showed a video in a history class, my students would want to ask some clarifying questions. And if some kids wanted to ask clarifying questions, some kids would be annoyed by other kids asking clarifying questions in the middle of the video. So what did I do? I set up a back channel chat like this. My students who wanted to ask questions, they could ask questions. My students who just wanted to watch a video, they could watch a video. Covers both both sets of kids. All right. Bonnie, I haven't used Twitticate in a while, so I cannot tell. I couldn't make a good comparison at this point. That's my honest reply to you. This is one of those tools. The other little thing that I want to point out here, there's a voice feature. I'm not going to click it right now because while it does work, it doesn't have a way to stop. And it starts to read all the messages that are on the screen, right? So there's a voice feature, but it's a little bit rudimentary at this point. All right. Yeah, so that's YoTeach app, and again, great little tool for having that discussion with kids. Now the demonstration piece, and this is where we can go kind of get into a spot where people are like, well, what do I do? Which one of these do I choose? Right? There's a lot of options here. We can make our digital portfolios, making our videos or podcasts, making virtual tours. We've got tons of things we can do here. And the piece that I always say to people about this whole framework, that if you think about the demonstration piece, think about what tools you have at your disposal that can be used not only for the demonstration, but might also be used as part of the discussion, might also be used as part of discovery. So if you think about how this might work, I'll give you the Google Earth example. You could use Google Earth to have students make some virtual tours. Google Lit Trips is great for language arts classes. There's a service called Media for Math that does some math-based lessons in Google Earth, right? So you can think about that for your discovery piece. Then you can make a Google Earth tour for your demonstration piece, and you can have a discussion about it. So think about tools that can hit all three of those pieces of the framework, and then you've really got a winner. And that's what I tell people when they're thinking, okay, which tool do I pick? Can you pick a tool that does all three? Think about a tool. Now, that's why Flipgrid is so popular. Flipgrid is great for that discussion piece. It's great for that demonstration where kids can make a video and talk about things they've done. And part of that discussion can lead them into that discovery of, oh, I've learned something new because my teacher did a whiteboard lesson in Flipboard, or my teacher gave a 5-minute lecture in Flipgrid, right? That's what makes some tools so darn popular. That's why Flipgrid's so popular. That's why Wakelet is popular, because it hits all three of those pieces. So I'm always trying to think of those tools that hit all three. And that's where we end up with these really great projects. Thinking about projects you can do with kids. If it hits all three of those, and if it can hit all three with one tool, that's really great. Seesaw, often the elementary school level, is great for that, because again, Seesaw has tools for kids to make videos, to upload their pictures, to show examples of their work. It's got a discussion piece, and through that discussion, you end up with kids discovering new things because you might post a lesson, or their classmates might post a lesson. Think about those great projects that might really bring all three of those things together, bring that framework together. Okay. Now, if you feel like you're drinking from a water hose or trying to drink from a water hose, this is not my dog. I was trying to find a picture of my dog doing it, but I couldn't. If you feel this way, or you're working with teachers who feel this way, my piece of recommendation, or my piece of advice, my recommendation, pick your favorite tool. Or pick that one tool, and can you think of 3 activities you can do with it? I'm often asked, Richard, how many tools do you actually use in your classroom? Okay. Now I'm teaching computer science this year. When I was teaching social studies, it was slightly different. But generally, it's 10 to 12 tools that I'm using on a consistent basis. I'm reviewing hundreds of them every year. But if I used every tool I review in my own classroom, my kids' heads would be spinning. They'd be like, Mr. Byrne, what are you doing? Why are we using this today? Right? That's why, I have about 10 to 12 that I use on a consistent basis. And those 10 or 12 really do hit all three parts of that framework. So think about your favorite tool, or if you're trying to recommend tools to colleagues, think about your favorite tool and recommend it to them and give them 3 activities they can do with it. 3 things they can do. Can they do a discovery thing? Can they do a demonstration? Can they engage in a discussion? Keep that framework in mind, and it becomes really quite simple. And it's worked. It's worked for me now for over a decade of reviewing and trying technology, because it's just those 3 little pieces, right? All right. So to wrap up today, and I told you this was going to be a quick webinar. I'm usually known for the nuts and bolts types of things, and I do those, and I have other webinars where I will do this, but this is more of a conceptual topic today. So let me say that if you're looking for more things like this, you want to see this framework in action on a greater scale, I am hosting the Practical EdTech Virtual Summer Camp in June and July this year. The June session is filling up very quickly. We're going to cover 10 big topics. All 10 of these topics tie right back into that framework, tie right back into that discovery, discussion, and demonstration framework. And we'll look at how these topics can be used in a wide array of classrooms. There's 3 different times I'm hosting it, in June and then twice in July. And if you sign up by the end of May, you'll save $50. If you have a big group, you'll save even more. And if you want a copy of these slides, you can get them at bit.ly/techddd, discovery, discussion, demonstration. So thank you for joining me today. That was a quick webinar, 30-minute webinar. I hope you've gotten some clarity or some ideas on how you might think about recommending and using some of your favorite tech tools with your colleagues and with your own students. And as always, if you have any questions for me, feel free to send me an email, richard@byrne.media. And I'll also be sending out an email a little later this evening that has a link to today's slides and a link to the recording of today's session. If you want to share the recording of today's session with a friend or a colleague, feel free to do so as well. And I see a couple of comments coming in. Oh, thank you. A bunch of thank yous coming in. Thanks for showing up today. I certainly appreciate it. And I hope everyone stays healthy. Don't forget to wash your hands. Oh, and last but not least, as Mark Twain said, don't believe everything you read on the internet. All right. Thank you, Linda. Thanks, everyone. Oh, Linda's already signed up for summer. Awesome. Amy, is there a way to listen to a webinar on the phone and not get kicked off if the phone rings? Unfortunately, not. Oh, Kathy, yes, I will definitely include the map overview video in the email that goes out. Yes, absolutely. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everybody. You have a great afternoon or a great evening or a great morning, depending on where you are in the world. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.